Episode 2 of our stint in the double digits is here. Episode 11 of the Glass of Joe podcast with my good friend PJ Glasser. I'm Joe Malfa. And PJ, this is week 1 of having all of the sports full swing, full tilt to talk about. Last week, we were watching some NBA scrimmages, and we were looking at the early stages of the NHL. But now we finally have everything all at once again. MLB, NHL, NBA. Football training camps are starting. We don't really have much to talk about football-wise today just because everything is kind of getting going there. We're seeing the protocols kick in. But the focus is on the NHL and the NBA because they are at the ends of their seasons. MLB, a sixth of the way through, which is crazy to say.
Yeah, already.
But the other ones, we're there. We're at the end, and we'll kick off with the NHL. We've seen some great hockey in the first couple of games of these opening series. As we're recording this, the Islanders are going for their sweep. The Hurricanes got their sweep last night. I tried this little playoff beard.
I see that. I was going to comment. You got your playoff beard going.
And you would think as the Rangers fan, I would shave it now, but I'm not going to, and here's why. Number one, first and foremost.
Well, you want your Lafreniere boy.
What is that?
I said you want your Alex Lafreniere boy.
Well, that's
I'm pronouncing that right.
You're not. Okay. I'm not going to try it either. It's partly that. A bigger component is I'm lazy and don't want to shave.
Fair enough.
Also, I have to wear a mask all day at work, so nobody sees it anyway to make fun of it. And third is that from being in DC and covering and working with the Capitals, I am just hereby migrating this over to being a Capitals beard now. That's what
I was going to say. I haven't started my beard yet because the Capitals aren't in the Stanley Cup playoffs quite yet. They're still playing for their seeding. So once that gets going, then I might start growing it out a little bit.
It's a very sorry excuse. I have been growing this since July 13th.
The girlfriend can't get mad at you because
she can't get mad at me because
that's
she's
your excuse.
in another part of the country right now, and I'm not going to see her until the beginning of November. So she can't do anything about it. And yeah. I wear a mask, I'm lazy, and I'm going to just justify it by saying it's now a hope for Alexis Lafreniere and watch the Washington Capitals beard. So,
and a lot of the players, too, it's funny seeing all them clean shaven so far. There are guys that have their beards, but a bunch of them are clean shaven and hoping for that deep playoff run in September and October.
Yes, and for all these years that we've made fun of Sidney Crosby's few little whiskers that he tries to grow, I think we finally have one that tops it. There are plenty if you go through that aren't great, but Capo Caco's attempt. Okay, first of all, he's 19 years old. Let's cut him some slack. He probably hasn't even fully hit puberty.
That's what I was gonna say.
But
he can't get a drink.
It was barely peach fuzz, and at least early on for Crosby, like the peach fuzz was brown/black because he's got a darker hair color. But the finish. Very fair complexion and blonde hair of Capo Caco. It was blonde peach fuzz. So I only ever saw it once when they did a close-up of him on the bench. So he's got to work on that as time goes on. But it was great experience for the Rangers to at least have a taste. The Hurricanes, they proved that last year wasn't a fluke.
Joe, I tell you right now, if you're the Caps, Bruins, Lightning, or Flyers, that is the last team you were hoping to play. Mm-hmm. I think going into this, everybody was wanting to avoid the 4 seed, so you didn't get Pittsburgh. Right now, it's all about avoiding Carolina because, just all 3 levels, offense, defense, goaltending, they look fantastic.
And for anybody who thought that some teams might take the play-ins a little less seriously because it's not playoffs yet, they're going to take it seriously because getting seed 1 or seed 2 means you avoid Pittsburgh and Carolina.
Right. So and Boston better turn it around quickly because their first 2 games, if they're any indication of what they're going to look like, they're going to be out quick, man. And that's what we were talking about.
The Flyers picked right up where they left off, too.
They have, and that's what we were talking about with the Bruins and how they were going to run away with the President's Cup trophy. And obviously, they couldn't control the coronavirus, but you just wondered how that long layoff would affect them. And 2 games in, they have clearly not looked like the Boston Bruins we have seen all season. And if they don't beat the Capitals or at least tie them, if they lose to the Capitals, they're automatically in that 4 hole and going to be playing Pittsburgh or Carolina, and they might have
Carolina. Just to finish up on them before we go through the other series, they made the Eastern Conference Finals for a reason last year. Some people thought it was fluky. Some people were in the school of thought, this is just the beginning, the rumblings of this team being really good. And it's certainly the latter. Svechnikov, Aho are tremendous, and they just lit the Rangers up. The goaltending was a bit of the surprise. Again, small sample size, 3 games, but they rotated Mrazek and Reimer all year. We saw them do it now on the back-to-back between games 2 and 3 with Reimer coming in to game 3. Started shaky, then made some highlight reel saves. A save that might hold up to be the save of the playoffs as we go on. It was that great, the stick save in net, thwarted Philip Hedl. So they are clicking on all cylinders right now. Rod Brindamore is such a good coach, and he was such a good player, but he is such a good coach. He's proven that already just a couple of years into the job in Carolina. Team to watch out for. Everybody was, dark horse, the Rangers upsetting them. Dark horse, whoever comes out of the Toronto-Columbus series. But the real dark horse we should be watching is Carolina. Everybody kind of wrote them off against the Rangers, me included. Maybe some homerism there. Actually, certainly some homerism there. But they can go again on a run here. They have all the pieces to do it.
No question. Rob Brindamore, to me, if you want a comparison across another sport, I almost see him as the NHL's Mike Vrabel, like former player.
I see that. Very good
got
comparison.
that intense players coach. His teams resemble the kind of player he was, but I'm with you, man. Carolina looks really, really dangerous. You talk about the other series in the East. You mentioned Islanders, Panthers a little bit. Islanders going for that sweep. That was one of your best bets, Joe. The Islanders sweeping the Panthers, and they got one of those games again that they want to play. It's 1-1 as we head into the third period. So if you're an Islanders fan, you got to think you got the Panthers right where you want them.
And yes, apologies to anybody listening to this. This was our slot where we had to record it with our schedules. So we don't have a conclusion to the series for you right now. We'll probably have it maybe a couple hours after we get off, but other duties call. So up 2-0 in the series, tied 1-1 right now. But in the history of the NHL, when they've had 5-game series, only one team has ever come back from 2-0 down to win the series. And this is going back 30 years when they have this, but still only ever one team has come back from 2-0 down. So whether the Islanders pull this one out or not, it's safe to bet that they're going to pull through. So far 1 for 1 on my best hockey bet, because I did say minus 120 on the Islanders series, but then the added bonus was take them for the sweep. That's still to be determined, but it struck me as a bad matchup for the Panthers, 2 teams that kind of stumbled into the hiatus going in opposite directions, and I didn't think the Panthers were really going to come out all that secure, sound, ready to go, a team that probably would benefit from getting that 12.5% chance in the lottery. Although I was joking with one of my friends at work, if the Blackhawks go on to lose to the Oilers, if the Maple Leafs go on to lose to the Blue Jackets, and the Blackhawks, Maple Leafs, Rangers, now you're just looking at the Canadians against the Penguins. You could have 4 original 6 teams in this lottery, in which case, the reality of it would be 4 teams with a 25% chance and 4 teams with a 0% chance, because you know damn well one of the original 6 teams is going to win the lottery if there's 4 teams in it.
Probably Toronto, too, is how it would end up working.
Toronto or Montreal. They'll probably give it to one of the Canadian teams, especially because he is from just outside that area. So something to watch for.
Joe, why I love playoff hockey is that those 2 series, the Islanders could end up in a sweep, but the other 6, we're all getting at least a game 4. And that's what's so great about it. NBA every year, you usually get 3 or 4 sweeps in the first round. Playoff hockey, maybe 1, rarely 2. And this is 7-game series, and here we're on a 5-game series, and at most we're getting 2.
And here's the thing. It's very rare to get a sweep in hockey, and it's so unpredictable that last year our sweep was the Blue Jackets as an 8 seed sweeping a historically great regular season team in the Tampa Bay Lightning, who tied the wins record. So you never know, and that's for next week's discussion once we have all those matchups set.
Right.
But just going down the line, I mean, Penguins, Canadians 1-1. The Penguins have looked very much the better team through 2 games. The Canadians scrapped it out in game 1, got the goal in overtime to win it. I fully expect that one to be a Penguin series going forward.
I agree. Game 1 was just your typical playoff hockey where the Penguins dominate,
They shook the rust.
Couldn't score. And the Canadians just get, that they sent it to overtime, and all it takes is 1 goal and they won it. Penguins bounce back a little bit. Murray's been playing well for them in net.
Yes.
And like you said, I mean, they got some older veteran guys. Might take them a little bit to get going, but they realize it's a 5-game series. They know they have to win tonight. You can't go down 2-1 and try and win 2 elimination games. I think they'll take care of business, likely win this in 4.
And similar for me at least, the way I look at the Oilers-Blackhawks series. Blackhawks, good veteran team, came out and just lit up the Oilers back line in game 1. And then the Oilers come right back, and McDavid just puts the team on his back and scores a hat trick.
That goal he scored was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
That was probably the filthiest goal I've seen in my life. I mean, if you watch the ISO cam version of that was fun because they've got one ISO cam following each star because they have the extra cameras in arena. The ISO cam version of that, he's just kind of skating circles in the zone, waiting for that bouncing puck to break free. He hits down the bouncing puck to himself, picks up speed, blows by 2 guys, and the slot that he found over Crawford's shoulder to put that puck was maybe no bigger than the puck itself.
Yeah.
And he just, like it was nothing, just chipped it up over there. It was ridiculous. And to cap it off with a hat trick, loved that the employees in the arena actually ran down to the glass and threw some hats on the ice. That was a lot of fun to see.
That was.
But same thing there, like the Penguin series, fully expect the Oilers to come out, win game 2, put the pressure on the Blackhawks. I'm not as confident now anymore in the Oilers as I am the Penguins because the Blackhawks with Kane, Taves, they've got a great championship pedigree.
I think the Blackhawks could beat them. I think they could beat them.
I wouldn't be stunned if the Blackhawks did it in the way that I would be stunned if the Canadians did it.
Correct.
But I do feel very confident in the Oilers coming through this, especially after the goaltending switch from Smith to Koskinen. I think that gives them a little boost, and you saw that in game 2. So I still like those teams to come through it. And now the other series, though, complete coin flips. These were the series that we viewed as complete coin flips before the postseason started, and they still have proven to be that. And that would be Predators, Coyotes, Wild, Canucks, and Blue Jackets, Leafs all knotted up at 1. The Flames went up 2-1 on the Jets yesterday. It's been a good series there. But those other ones that are all knotted up at 1, Canucks, Wild, Preds, Coyotes, Leafs, Blue Jackets, I have really no inclination either way in those series.
Yeah, I mean, just quick to touch on the Flames and the Jets. That'd be another great series, but the Jets' 2 best players, Line and Scheifele, are hurt. So that unfortunately hurts them. So the Flames should win that one. You look at the other 3, though. Wild Canucks, to me, is probably the biggest coin flip. I mean, take your pick on that one. I truly don't know who's going to win. The Predators and the Coyotes, I mean, the Coyotes got off to such a good start this season, stumbled into the hiatus, and it was good to see them play well in game 1. But like you
talked, they just got absolutely blitzed in game 2.
You talked about the playoff experience the Blackhawks and the Penguins have. Predators have the same thing. They were in the Stanley Cup not too long ago. They have a bunch of those guys still on the team. So I think, they kind of calmed down the troops, settled down in game 2. They should win that one over the Coyotes. Columbus and the Leafs, though, is such a good matchup because
the Leafs went 90 minutes until they scored their first goal.
And I don't think there's a better D pair than Jones and Werenski. I mean, you know hockey better than I do, but just watching those 2, I'm like, there can't be a better pair than those 2.
The D pairs on the Lightning are pretty much top to bottom better, and that's why, like we were talking about with Joe Beninati back in episode 3, they walk off the bus and you can see they're just better than everybody else, and that's why they're the pick to win it. But they're up there as well for some of the best D pairs, and Jonas Korpisalo has been tremendous
he's been good
in net for the Blue Jackets. He has stolen goals from the Leafs, and they're gonna continue to be a tough nut to crack. That's true of any John Tortorella coach team, and we're seeing it. I want to lean the Blue Jackets just because I trust, again, Tortorella in the postseason. Mm-hmm. But the second half of that game 2, the Leafs came alive. They got the couple goals, and they went on to win. Scary, scary moment with Jake Muzzin going down on a weird, awkward collision that didn't look so bad at the beginning. And then when you slow it down, you can see the way his head and neck kind of bent. So very scary to see that. You wonder how that affects the Leafs. Does it weigh on them where morale goes down? Is it a rallying thing for them? That's to be determined, obviously. because again, in a sport with so much emotion like hockey, those things add up. I go back to 2014 when the Rangers made it to the Stanley Cup final. I'd feel bad saying it like this, but if Marty St. Louis' mom did not pass away in the middle of that series, I don't know that the Rangers would have come back. Because after that, in the very next game, the Rangers were a totally different team. They were down 3-1 against the Penguins. And then on Mother's Day, Game 5, and St. Louis scores in the first 10 minutes. Like, that's just movie theater stuff that you can't make up. And
Right.
that sprung them on that Stanley Cup run. So in a game like this with so much emotion, you wonder where their psyche is after seeing the Muzzin thing. We won't know until Game 3. But I do lean slightly to Columbus just because of how they're constructed. You talk about teams constructed to do well in the regular season versus the postseason. They're built for postseason success with Tortorella. So I do lean Columbus.
Leafs got a lot of firepower, Matthews, Tavares, Marner, but Columbus, they just match up well with them. Like you said, they're built better for the playoffs, and there's so much pressure on Toronto, and I think they feel that. Even, playing on their home ice, even though there are no fans, I mean, maybe there is something to playing at home that puts a little more pressure on you as well. But to me, that's the series I'm most intrigued by to see who wins that one. That'll be a lot of fun. And I got to tell you, the Eastern Conference matchups, when the round-robin teams come to play, the Islanders, Hurricanes, likely the Penguins, and then either Toronto or Columbus is going to be fantastic.
It's going to be great.
Matchups.
The Western Conference not as much, but the Eastern Conference, yes. And before we transition to some NBA talk here, something to keep in mind, while I'm kind of riding my little hot streak of my best bet pick for the Islanders, another thing to watch for as the postseason goes on, if you like a team on the series price, but it's not great value, just wait and see what happens in Game 1, and if they lose Game 1. Jump on it. I mean, it's called gambling for a reason. You're going to have to take a chance at some point,
right.
and you're taking the chance on a team that's already down a game in the series. But the Penguins were heavy favorites in their series against the Canadiens. Didn't want to touch that series price. Oilers were solid favorites against the Blackhawks. Didn't want to touch that series price. And then Canucks and Wild. Canucks were slight favorites, but I wasn't entirely sure. They all lost Game 1. After that, the Penguins, Oilers, and Canucks all went to plus money. Great value. You can't pass that up. I hit all three, and then they all come back and win Game 2. Mm-hmm. So now they're big, heavy favorites in the series again, but you capitalized on getting them at plus money after the Game 1 loss. So something to keep an eye on as the postseason goes along for hockey. Next round, if you really like the Capitals against the Hurricanes, and the Caps are, minus 180, so you're not sure about the value, wait and see. If the Canes come out and win Game 1 and now all of a sudden the Caps are plus 120, hit it. I mean, just don't be discouraged by them being down a game.
That's a way to bet
that value is
regular hockey too. When a team's favored in a game, like the Penguins were against the Canadiens in Game 1, big favorites. The Canadiens score the first goal, the live in-game odds totally change.
Oh, yeah.
And then you can jump on them to win the game live. So that's totally a way to bet hockey.
And it's so much wait. It's so much chancier and flukier for in-game, but when it comes to a series price, like that is, for me, that's the best way to go about a series price. Unless for the Blue Jackets, Maple Leafs, the Blue Jackets were plus 150 underdogs. Like if you like that, take that right away. Right. And if you're talking about bigger amounts of money, which I am not, I'm putting like $10 on this stuff. But if you're someone who's talking about putting $1,000 plus on a series, that's one where you hit up the Blue Jackets after they win Game 1. Now the Leafs are on plus money. You put the same money on them, and now you're guaranteed profit either way because you got both teams at the same plus money. So
very good.
A lot of different little sneaky things to kind of keep an eye on for value's sake when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs like that. And in the NBA, I wouldn't do that as much because
NBA is impossible. I mean, the Nets won yesterday, and they were 19-point underdogs.
Yeah.
So I got to tell you, the Bucks, I'm a little concerned. I still think they're going to win the East, but man, I look at how Toronto's looking, and Miami's been pretty good. Boston is what we thought they would be.
Boston looks good.
But man, Toronto, just the way they play defense. I mean, Chris Miller told us he liked them even without Kawhi just because of their makeup, how they're coached. the way they play team basketball, team defense. And Milwaukee's got to figure this thing out a little bit. I mean,
they do. Look, take yesterday's performance against the Nets with a grain of salt because Giannis and Middleton didn't play the second half. They used it as a resting day. I don't know that I agree with their decision to rest because you're playing the Nets, you're 19-point favorites, and your magic number to clinch the 1 seed was 1. That's a game where you put everybody out there, go all out, and beat them by 30 to make sure you're the 1 seed. But instead they rest in the second half, which made no sense to me. I don't know if they're banking on the Raptors losing one more game or they'll find a win somewhere, but their schedule is tough coming up. The Raptors' schedule is tough coming up too. So again, in all likelihood, they're still going to be the 1 seed. But you had the Nets, you were 20-point favorites, and you were so much better than they are. If you play all your guys the whole game, they should have. I disagree with what they did. They should have just put the 1 seed there.
This was their Citadel game, you know? I mean, they went from playing all these big boys and they got a cupcake and they didn't take advantage of it. But I got to tell you, Phoenix, good for them, man. They
really
beat
good.
Dallas and the Clippers back-to-back. Booker's shot yesterday was incredible. I mean, that was big time. And that 8 seed in the West or the 9 seed's really heating up. Even the 8 seed too, because Memphis.
Especially with Jaren Jackson going down for Memphis.
Yes, slipping. You know, Portland has looked pretty good. They got the win last night against Houston. The West is just, it's so good.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
We really thought the gap between the Lakers and the Clippers was a lot. And I still think those two end up meeting in the conference final. But, you know, Houston's looked good. Utah's had their moments. OKC looks pretty good. Dallas can score with anybody. So, I mean,
there's teams in the West that can take the Lakers and Clippers to a game 5 or 6. Maybe on your best day, 1 out of 10 times you take them to a game 7. But those teams are much better than the rest.
Yeah, they are. And, you know, they call it the Wild Wild West for a reason because they all score a lot and it's competitive out there. The East, though, you know, the Magic losing Jonathan Isaac was a tough blow. How about the Pacers? I told you I like them. They get Oladipo back, which we didn't know. And then T.J. Warren is just like a totally new guy. 53 points in his first game. I think he scored like 117 in his first 3 games. Indiana, I mean,
when we first went through our NBA projections, I soured on Indiana because we didn't think Oladipo was playing at the time. But now that he's playing, my tune changes on them a little bit, where you do have to kind of watch out for them being sneaky and giving some of the top teams some trouble as you go along. But I think what we said with Chris Miller still rings true. Maybe a couple of cracks in the Bucks foundation, but they're still 1. The Raptors look great, are a very solid 2. Yeah. The Celtics are a very solid 3, and your mixed bag of the Celtics, Heat at 4 and 5. So far, the East has held true to form.
They have. Yeah, I mean, Heat, Sixers, and Pacers, 4, 5, 6, kind of a toss-up. The Wizards, you know, 2 of their first 3 games were against the Suns and the Nets. They needed to win those. They haven't. I can't see them forcing that play-in game. So I think the East is set. I think the Nets will get the Bucks. Orlando as the 7 will get the 2 in Toronto, and then we'll see how 3, 4, and 5, and 6 play itself out. But I got to say, both leagues, NHL, NBA, phenomenal job presenting the games on TV. I remember you saying the NHL, when we were talking to Bob Lobel, our guest coming up, about how smart they were to put those big scoreboards around the lower bowl seating so you don't have those awkward, you know, big openings in the stadium. NBA, it almost looks like a video game, the NBA.
Yes.
The layout, and they've really done a great job.
Yes, and we're at 3-1 Panthers now, by the way, in the last couple of minutes. So still early in the third period. So my long shot bonus bet from last week of an Islanders sweep is looking more grim, but still, again, 58-1, I believe, was the mark, or 56-1. It was 50-something-1 was the record for NHL teams in a 5-game series when they take a 2-0 lead. So still looking good on the Islanders. The sweep unlikely to happen though now.
Yeah, I don't know if the Panthers are going to come back and win that series.
Don't think so.
We'll see. Great to have the NBA and NHL back, as we mentioned. Where would you go, Joe? Coming up a little later on, we finally have live sports where I can ask you where you would go. So we're looking forward to that. We're also looking forward to everybody hearing our next guest, Boston legendary sportscaster Bob Lobel, talking Patriots, Bruins, Red Sox, everything Boston, and a whole bunch more coming up. Pleased to be joined this week by Boston sportscasting legend Bob Lobel. Bob, how's everything going? How are you navigating these crazy times we're living in?
Well, just like everybody else, it's every day's an adjustment, and it's just crazy times starting sports, and you almost wish that baseball never got started, at least if you're here in Boston right now. But, I hope it continues. I understand everybody has to start. Everybody's got to try. All the leagues have to absolutely try to play, and whether it works out or not remains to be seen, but they have to try to make it happen. And we'll see what happens. In some cases, it doesn't look good, but I can't predict what's going to happen like anybody else. So who knows?
Right. Well, you had a perfect segue. I was going to ask you about the Sox right off the bat, and they've gotten off to this slow start. It's only a 60-game sprint this season, so they got to turn around pretty quickly. Do you think they can?
No, I don't think they can. I don't think they're built for it. I don't think they expected to. They may be the first team in history to lose 100 games in a 60-game season. But I don't think they expected to win. I just don't. I guess lightning can strike and miracles can happen, but they clearly were not ready to play, and they clearly were not ready to compete, and I suppose that's fine, because we don't know if the season's going to be 1 week longer than it is right now, or actually finish up. I have my doubts. I think they had to absolutely start and try, but I really don't think it's going to finish, to tell you the truth. But we'll wait. I hope I'm wrong. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I felt the same way. I felt they should have started, but not the most confidence that it's going to finish. I'm a Mets fan, so sorry. I know we're beating up on your Sox.
No, that's all right. Actually, you know what?
But I'm an Orioles fan, so we both got you the first couple. We both played you the first couple.
I know, but then we're going back down to New York to play the Mets and the Yankees. I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah.
If that happens, if it even happens, who knows?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. I found myself watching these last two games the last couple of nights, and I couldn't even get excited at the Mets doing really well, because I just don't know if there's going to be a payoff in the end. It might be 2 more weeks. So until we get over a certain hump, I really can't even get totally excited for it. But
I totally get it. I don't know what you guys think about it. Everybody's got different opinions about the cardboard cutouts, about the no fans, about the piped in, excitement and everything else. It's different. So
it is
different year.
It just doesn't feel right, but I guess we can get used to anything if we want to see him play.
Yeah. Now, under normal circumstances, Fenway Park, one of the best venues to watch a baseball game in the United States. What is your favorite thing about the ballpark itself?
Well, I love the green monster seats. That's my favorite thing. I don't know why it took so long to figure out that that's where they needed to put seats, but to me, sitting in the green monster, and when they first came in, I bought a couple of season tickets with another guy, and we split them for to sit there, and to me, it was the best place to watch a sporting event ever. It just was interactive. It was like a video game. It was like you're in the game. Seriously, I just had never experienced anything like that, and it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing in batting practice. We used to do our sportscast out there in center field, or on the green monster at 6 and 11 during batting practice, and I had to have somebody stand behind me with a glove, just in case.
Did you ever get a ball out there? Head out there?
Did I ever get a ball? I got plenty of balls. Seriously. No, I was just talking to my daughter last week about it, and she was in elementary school when I brought her there, and one night we came away with 8 or 10 baseballs.
Wow. Just
from things that were hit up there, and she was chasing around looking for them, and we gave them away to kids and everything else, but it was still a matter, it's just the idea of getting a ball in batting practice was, I'm still a fan, still pretty cool.
Sure.
Of course, that's the fan aspect of it, but now putting on your sports broadcasting legend of Boston hat, what was it like to be able to cover that 04 team and basically have a front row seat to the curse being broken?
It was remarkable, actually. It was, I'm not sure which was my favorite, whether it was 04 or 2013, when they're the bombing year, when they won after the marathon bombings. You know, 04 was special and different, and you're not going to forget, you know, Cowboy Up and Millar and Dave Roberts and Bill Miller, and just things that happened that, you know, being down, winning 4 straight from the Yankees and Damon's Grand Slam, just stuff that you know, you can't ever forget or nor want to forget. And I can actually remember standing outside of St. Louis because we had to do 11 o'clock newscast, and we had to go out to the truck out, which was outside of St. Louis. This was in the 4th game of the World Series when they beat the Yankees and went on to play the Cardinals and won in 4 straight. But I can actually remember saying, and at the top of the newscast, and I said I never thought I'd ever get to say it, but the Red Sox had just won the World Series. It was amazing. It was pretty amazing, especially after, going through what we went through with the Mets in '86 and Buckner and all that stuff. So whatever.
Moving over from baseball to football now, Bob. And Tom Brady, you probably knew eventually he wouldn't be the quarterback for the Patriots, but did you ever think that he would never did you ever think he would suit up for another team besides New England?
Well, you know what? I'm just glad it was over. It was kind of a ridiculous thing. Every day, you would ask, well, what has Brady done today? Has he done anything? During that whole time when, he was making up his mind, and it was, fairly obvious he wasn't coming back. I mean, I didn't think anybody that paid any attention to what was going on, but when it finally happened, it was a shock. I mean, it still was a shock. I mean, he lost Brady and Mookie Betts in the same year. Think about
Right.
it. I mean, this town is, we've had a lot of great success, but we've also had our times of failure too. No, the answer to your question is, I guess we never thought he would ever leave. And we'll see. We'll just have to wait and see. There's a distinct possibility, probably an even greater possibility, that the National Football League will never play this year. I mean, I don't know how that's possible. I don't have any clue how that's going to work out. But anyway, they got to do what they have to do. So we'll have to wait and see. And then to have Cam Newton come here and figure out who's going to start Newton or Stidham, I still think it's Stidham's job to lose. But anyway,
we could tell that you're a pro in this business for decades, because that was going to be what we went into next. What were you expecting out of the Cam and Stidham debate, if there is a camp, if there is a season?
I know my grandson lives in Burlington, Vermont, and goes to Wake Forest, and he's at home with his parents in Burlington, Vermont. And he texted me the day that they got Newton, and I did not know it. And he said, "What are the Patriots going to do with Cam Newton now?" And I had no idea what he was talking about. So I just had to call him up and find out, what do you know that I don't know? And he just told me what he knew that I didn't know. And that, because I hadn't just been paying attention to the news that day, and they got Newton, and, it's a no-brainer. I mean, why not? It gives them a different look. But I still think Stidham's their guy if they're gonna play. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm not. Who knows? Right. I mean, I think Newton's got to prove he can play. I mean, he hasn't played in a long time, and I think as great a player as he was when he was playing, he's been hurt. So we'll see.
Big question mark there. But one thing that's not a question mark is that the Brady-Belichick dynamic is probably the greatest of all time. And now there's obviously the eternal debate. Was it more Belichick? Was it more Brady? You personally, where do you fall on that fence? Do you think it was equal parts both, more Bill,
what, they could Tom? Both. We talk about this stuff all the time. They both could have bad seasons. They both could go in the tank this year. And, for no fault of their own, without each other. And people will say, well, they really needed each other if that happens. Well, that's not necessarily true. I think Belichick and Josh McDaniels, and I think they just put Brady in a position where he wasn't going to fail. They didn't ask him to do things that he couldn't do. And Belichick has a whole history of quarterbacks and putting them in a position where they don't fail. I mean, when it was Kosar versus Testaverde in Cleveland, Testaverde was his guy because he could control him and put him in a position not where he didn't fail. So I just think that from that standpoint, I think Belichick had a bigger imprint on Brady's success. Now, hey, granted, Brady was great in terms of tempo, in terms of smarts. He's like having a head coach on the field. He was great at controlling the tempo of the game. It's one of the things that not a lot of people don't talk about. He just controlled the tempo of the game. He was a great clock manager, even play by play. Forget the 2-minute drill, but play by play, he could manage the clock and control his team's tempo. And I think that was, really important. So he did his share. Belichick did his share by putting him in a position where and ask him to do things that he really wasn't good at. So it was good for both of them. And I guess that's not the answer you wanted to hear, but
that works.
I know. My feeling is that Belichick probably had a bigger effect because it all starts with the head coach. Like if Brady had played for somebody else that did put him in, ask him to do things that he couldn't do, then I think he would have gotten himself into trouble. So, but that's
now, have you ever had the chance to sit down and talk with either of them? And if so, what from your conversations with them has kind of stuck out to you the most over the years?
Well, Belichick was always, Tom's a good player. Tom's, we're lucky to have him. We were lucky to get him, and when we got him in the 6th round or whatever that deal was, and he turned out to be, he's a great competitor. That's about all he'd say. That's about it. He just wouldn't go any further than that, and he wouldn't put him ahead of the team. Brady, on the other hand, would say, yeah, I love the guy. The guy's been great. He's great to play for. So Brady was much more emotional about his relationship with Belichick than Belichick ever was about his relationship with Brady. But that's just the nature of each individual.
Yeah.
I think there are guys like Adam Vinatieri that had as big an impact on this team and success than anybody else.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Nobody ever talks about the defense either. I mean, the first 3 championships in 4 years. I mean,
Brewski,
McGinnis,
Ty Law,
Seymour, Ty Law, all those guys.
They were really good.
No, they were. They absolutely were.
I want to ask you a Bruins question, and they were so dominant during the regular season before the pandemic hit. How concerned are the people of Boston about this restart, and if they'll look like that same dominant team we saw all the regular season?
It's hard to find a more rabid fan base than the Bruins fan base. They're crazy. They're just into it. But they've been pretty silent, believe it or not. I mean, there've been the usual group that stands out and has something to say, but because I don't think they know what to expect. I don't think they know what to expect from Tuukka Rask. I don't think they've ever totally believed in Tuukka Rask. I think he's had a good reputation, but I don't think he's Jerry Cheevers or he's I just think he's always been a question mark, and now he's got a broken finger, so I don't know. I think, and I think they just worry about whether they can succeed by playing all their games in Toronto, or I don't. So many questions, and
yeah, there is,
and very few answers to any of them. So, if I were a Bruins fan, I don't know that there's any way that you can project what you saw at the beginning of the regular season when they had to quit and picking it up now. I just don't see how you can connect those dots from then to now, because it's all so different.
And I think they were at a disadvantage too. I mean, I know the league had to figure out a way to figure out the top 4 seeds, but I don't think it would have been an issue if they would have said, all right, we'll play this round robin for the top 4 seeds, but the Bruins are automatically the number 1. They were going to run away with the President's Trophy. It wasn't going to even be close.
Yeah, but they were having a pretty good year. I agree. Right. It was pretty cool. But I don't know. It's everything changed, and I think the fans are just going to look. It's like playing a tournament. The fans are just going to have to, own up to it and see what happens. As you know, things can change when you have a small number of games deciding, who's going to stay in and who's going to get out, and you're just going to have to take it game by game. But I'm anxious to, you know what? I really miss the fans. I don't care. You can play in Toronto all you want. You can play on any ice sheet that you want in any city, but unless you get in front of your home fans, it's a big difference. And I think, especially in hockey, when it's such an emotional sport,
Yeah.
I think hockey draws more from its fans than, emotion than any of the other sports.
It's a great point. You talked a little bit about Brady obviously moving on, Mookie Betts moving on. Do you kind of see now as Jason Tatum, is he the face of Boston sports, do you think now, because he's so young, so talented?
He is right now. Well, he is right now, and I think I think people are starting to realize you gotta recognize the Celtics. This is a different game. This is not your father's NBA or your grandfather's NBA. This is a different. And if you saw the Last Dance,
Yeah,
which was fantastic. We had
it was.
do a podcast with another sportscaster in Boston, and we interviewed the director of The Last Dance, who is from the Boston area, and he was great. And it reminded you what kind of a league it was. It was a league of superstars back then, between Reggie Miller and Jordan and Bird and McHale and Isaiah Thomas, and just superstars, individuals. Now, of course, you guys can throw in 3-pointers. It's a whole different, not that that's not a great talent, because it's an unbelievable talent, but it's not the talent that made the NBA. It's not the fast break talent. It's either you shoot a 3 or you dunk it. It's one of the two. There's
Right.
nothing in between. So it's different, and I think the fans are making that adjustment. I don't think they can. I mean, they can blindly root for a home team and call it basketball, but it's not the same kind of basketball that it once was. And whether Tatum becomes the face of Boston sports, I don't know. I got to tell you one thing. One of my favorite sayings is, why can't we get players like that when a player is moved away? It's like if you watch Mookie Betts play, and let's say, legs out a double, and then you can say in the highlights, when you show in the highlights, you say, why can't we get players like that? And it happens a lot to a lot of franchises now, but especially in Boston, it always had. But seeing Mookie Betts in a Dodger uniform, that was tough. I mean, that was really painful. And I blame the ownership, honestly. I believe that they could have signed him. And for them, after they did, they went out and pretty much badmouthed the Dodger contract with Mookie Betts, which is the stupidest thing they could possibly do, because they could have made the same deal. Okay, I'll just give you one quick theory, and then I'll shut up. This is about ownership. That ownership of teams, they go in stages. The first stage is when they come in and they really want to win. They really want to demonstrate to their fan base, we're here for the long haul. We're here for you. We're here to give you a team that's going to win. And so they do everything they can to make that happen. Then after they manage to win once, twice, doesn't matter. Once is enough, pretty much. They go into this middle period of trying to figure out where they want to go with this ownership. And then they go into the third phase, which is make as much money as you can, as fast as you can, and then get out. So it's pretty much a shelf life. And I think the Red Sox ownership has pretty much lived their shelf life here in Boston. Not that they're going to sell or anything else, but I think in terms of this is pretty much what you're going to get from now on. I just don't think they're motivated. They got too many other things going. The Red Sox are part of what they call the Fenway Sports Group. Right now Liverpool is your hot item in the Fenway Sports Group.
I'm a Liverpool fan, so
there you go. Well, you know what that's done. Liverpool's done for that area.
Yep.
I mean, clearly. So Liverpool's a big deal. Then they got their NASCAR, and then they got LeBron James marketing. So the Red Sox are just right now a small piece of their Fenway Sports Group. So when they first came in here, they were the owners of the Red Sox. Then all this other stuff happened. Okay, I'll shut up. That was my
yeah.
That was awesome.
You're preaching to the choir here, because I'm a Mets fan. I'm just counting down the days until the Wilpons sell, whether it's the A-Rod group, the Stephen Cohen group. I'm just counting down the days at this point.
Right. I mean, at some point you get to the point, well, make as much money as you can, as quickly as you can, and get out. And I'll see you later.
And to your Mookie point, being an Orioles fan, when I saw Machado in a Dodgers uniform,
There you go. Okay,
that was tough. So I know what you mean by Mookie. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was tough.
Now, last question for you before we get into our two final segments that we like to send away all of our guests with. Boston has been spoiled for the last couple of decades, but with each team at their peak, Patriots, Bruins, Celtics, Red Sox, ranking them from most beloved to least, what's the pecking order in that city? I've never lived in Boston, but I've always been curious to know, how do they kind of rank those teams, essentially?
What a great question. We talk about that too, and it's a great question. And I think it changes, of course, with the one that's winning. But overall, let's just take it overall. I'd have to say this is like the same generational town. They're just not one generation. This is not like Kansas City or Denver or Houston or LA. People have grown up in 3 or 4 generations here, grandfathers, great-grandfathers. So this is that kind of town. So these things are embedded. The Patriots were the last team on the face of the planet here in Boston. Yet they probably have become the most popular team because the NFL has become the most popular sport. So I think you got to give them credit for that because they're taken up in the whole NFL wave of what it's become. Every game's important. The game's on television. They're marketed. They're made for television. They don't go 4 hours like baseball is pretty done to destroy itself. And plus with the fact that the Patriots run with Brady and the Super Bowls over since 2001, since they first won their first one against the Rams, they probably have been the most popular team. Now, that at the same time, the Red Sox won their first in 2004 since in 86 years, and then they've won 3 more. So, okay, the bombing year in 2013 was a really important one, but after that, it's been pretty ho-hum. It's like, okay, we've expected them. They've gone on, and we've won what we needed to win to get the curse off our backs, and now we're just kind of gliding in. So I'd have to say, in all honesty, for a generation and a family, the Red Sox have had a much bigger impact in this town. The Patriots have had a much greater impact over the last 2 decades. The Bruins can explode, and the fan base is always there, but it's not as big a fan base. And the Celtics, when they won their championships, when they were the dynasty that they were with Bill Russell, there wasn't the TV coverage, there wasn't the immediacy. You had to be a fan to go to the games. You weren't a passive fan, to watch the games. So that's my answer was much longer than you wanted, but I have to explain it. These are all embedded teams that are embedded, and they have their own fan bases. Not to say that there's not groups that carry over. You can be a Red Sox fan and a Patriots fan and a Celtics and a Bruins fan. You can be all those things, but they have their own fan bases. And I'd have to say right now, the Patriots have been the ones to rule.
Yeah, that's really great in-depth answer. I mean, I've always wondered, all right, being a New York sports fan, we have 8 teams because there's multiple teams.
I got it. I know that's right.
But here it's 4, and all 4 have been crazy successful the last 2-3 decades.
Well, that's right. But you have to remember, before that crazy successful was crazy disaster.
Yes.
Seriously, whether it was Buckner whether it was, well, and you name it. It was a disaster. You know, you can go right back to the Super Bowl when they played the Bears and the Patriots lost, 45-3 or whatever it was. Who can remember? So there've been a fair amount of disasters leading up to all the successes. So don't say we've been we've been cursed, but we also have been blessed lately. That's for sure.
I hope there's that same light at the end of the tunnel for me being a Mets, Jets, Rangers fan as well. So
Well,
I
that's
hope
good.
there's that.
I mean, you got to be a Ranger. I don't know how you can combine those. I don't know what Yankee fans are like. I mean, I know what they're like. I just don't know what the soul. I don't know where their soul exists.
I don't know if it does.
I mean, I can understand Ranger fans versus Islander fans and Devil fans. I can understand. Knicks, I don't know. It's hard to too much to choose from. Too many things going on down there.
There's a lot.
Right. So that's that.
Yep. Speaking of many things to choose from, the segment we love to do with our guests, we call it the Swift 7. It's 7 rapid-fire questions. Just first thing that comes to your mind, go for it. I'll start it off. Number 1, favorite Boston athlete.
Carlton Fisk.
Number 2, favorite sports movie.
Well, because Fever Pitch, because I was in it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
Did not know that. I might have to go check it out.
No, okay. It would be 8 Man Out. 8 Man Out would be my favorite.
Where are you in Fever Pitch? Are you towards the end when they're in St. Louis?
I'm towards the end I'm on the set announcing, okay, this is what you've asked for. It's the Yankees Red Sox 7th game. That was one of those things.
That's awesome.
Oh my God, yeah. All right, number 3, DH in both leagues or abolish the DH?
I would say abolish the DH.
Agreed. Number 4, got to be a Bobby Orr question. His dive in the 1970 Cup Final, is that the most iconic image in Boston sports history to you?
One of 2, Carlton Fisk home run.
Raving it, yep.
Right. I got a great story with Fisk and Orr, but that's a different story. It's another story for another time, but not in this segment.
Beautiful. Number 5, Bob, where's your favorite place to eat in Boston?
I guess Regina's Pizza.
Okay. I assume you've been to Mike's Pastries before to have a cannoli.
Of course, I know Mike. I knew Mike really well before he passed away, and I used to hang out in his kitchen.
Oh,
believe it or not, nice pastry, of course.
One of my favorite places I've ever.
No, but I don't think all desserts all the time is what you meant by eating. But
right. No, the restaurant, the pizza was a good.
Mike's Pastry. Of course, forgive me.
So good, so good. Favorite Boston sporting event you've ever attended?
Wow, I'd have to say the Super Bowl in New Orleans when they beat the Rams and they win their first Super Bowl.
Okay. And
after 9/11, right after 9/11.
Okay. And then last question, the Swift 7. What's just your favorite sport to watch?
I would say it is pro football because it's a short thing and it's every game means more than the other games.
All right. And Bob,
playoff hockey besides playoff hockey.
Yes. And I love the setup. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I saw yesterday the setup of the arenas in Toronto and Edmonton. I love what they did. They enclosed they put like a wall sort of thing and a video board in the lower bowl, so it blocks out the rest of the arena. So instead of this big cavernous atmosphere, it's a very small, intimate. You feel like you're right on the ice. It's really cool.
I can't wait. Tomorrow, they start tomorrow, right?
They start the scrimmages today.
Yeah, right.
August 1st.
Right.
And
NBA starts tomorrow, right? Okay.
Yes, NBA starts tomorrow.
Right. Okay.
So, Bob, last thing we got for you, we give all our guests a trivia question, okay? So, of course, we gave you one kind of Boston-centric a little bit. You'll have 90 seconds and 3 strikes to try and answer it. So your question is, there are 6 cities in the Eastern time zone with all 4 major sports teams. Boston is one of them with the Red Sox, Patriots, Bruins, and Celtics. So of the other 5 cities in the Eastern time zone with all 4 major sports teams, if you can give us 4 of the 5, then we will give it to you.
New York, of course.
Whenever you're ready. New York is 1, correct?
I would say Philadelphia.
Philadelphia is 2.
You're talking about the Eastern time zones, right?
Eastern time zone,
correct, yes.
With all 4 major sports.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How about come on, Bob. That's pathetic.
You still got a minute left. Plenty of time.
Atlanta.
Not Atlanta. Just 3.
What don't they have? Hockey?
Hockey, yep.
Yeah,
Thrashers are
Thrashers.
Oh,
gone.
they had the Flames. They moved. Okay, they moved.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, stupid
You're
Bob.
good.
Okay, so I got to go to Florida. So I guess Miami, right?
Miami
There's
is
one.
3, correct. So
You got
1
another
plus 3.
35
You got it.
seconds.
You got
35
yeah.
seconds, 2 strikes to work with, and you only got to get one more.
Come on, Lobel, you can do this. Don't, because I'm gonna. Come on, I can't combine Cleveland and Columbus, can I?
Yeah, no.
Okay, come on, stop it. Philadelphia, Pittsburgh Penguins on a basketball team.
10 seconds.
Okay, come on, don't put this pressure on me. All right, wait a minute, hold on. New Jersey.
Not
No.
New Jersey.
Not
One more
yet.
strike.
Time.
You have one more quick answer.
If you got one more strike to work with. If you one more guess, we'll give it to you.
Okay, hold on. All right, give up. What is it?
The other 2 were DC, and the tough one's Detroit. Not because
Oh my
you know
God,
the
come on.
teams, but
Well, I
because
wouldn't get
sometimes
this
you forget
time
it's
zone.
Eastern time zone. Exactly.
time zone.
I would not
exactly.
have said that. I was out looking at Chicago, and I said, no, that's Central Time Zone. Detroit. That's a
Detroit.
time zone question.
Miami was the good one, though. Miami, the Panthers, you just don't associate them
Right,
with
that was,
Miami.
what.
That
Good
was
question. That's a good one. That is a very good job.
That was a good one. Bob, I mean, we appreciate you spending the time and giving some of us your Boston knowledge. It was awesome learning from you.
Strike out. I'm going to consider this interview a failure now after the last.
No, it was incredible. I mean,
No, that's great. You guys are great. Thanks. I
Thank you
enjoyed
so
doing
much.
that. Thanks.
We
As
really
a
appreciate it.
New York fan, the Boston teams have tormented mine for plenty of years. So it's great
Yeah,
to
well,
hear it from the victor's perspective.
Well, you've given it back a few times too. So,
Of course.
all right. Good luck to you guys. You sound great. Thanks.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Bob. Take
Best
it easy.
of luck to
Stay
you as
safe.
well. Stay safe.
Thanks.
That was the great Bob Lobel, kind enough to join us. Joe, I love when we were asking him questions. You could see he was such a seasoned pro because he knew where we were going to transition to, and he jumped the gun. But I thought it was funny right off the top. We were going to ask him about the Red Sox, and we're like, you think they can turn it around? He's like, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
And, I mean, they're 3-8, so we knew coming in their pitching was obviously going to be their downfall. They have such a good offense. You wondered if that could carry them. But playing in that AL
The answer so far has been no. The answer so
has,
far
it has
been no.
It doesn't
And
help either when you play the Yankees and they got swept by them. But,
they were able to steal a couple from the Mets. So 2 of their wins coming against that Mets bullpen are, they can't play the Mets bullpen every time. So
Right.
they're 3-8, and it's not looking great for them. And it's really true what he said. Unfortunately, you think about ownership being cyclical, but the way he laid it out like that was the first time that I had ever heard anybody lay it out so specifically like that. And it's something that he's been able to see a couple times manifest itself in Boston, where you got owners that want to come in, win, then they kind of tread water, and then they're like, yeah, I just want to make money and I'm going to sell again. And the Fenway Sports Group, that's kind of where they're at right now. They've won their championship with the Red Sox. They've made their money, but the Red Sox aren't really their cash cow anymore. It's Liverpool. It's 100% Liverpool. They won the Champions League. They won the Premier League. They just signed a deal with Nike and released for the first time all of their new Nike gear, which I was online in an online queue for on Saturday. Didn't buy anything, though, because I looked at it and was like, you know what? What we've seen with this global pandemic, do I need to spend this money on a windbreaker that I like from Nike for Liverpool? The answer is no. So I showed some self-restraint. But it's just not their focus anymore, and it's showing itself. It's why they got rid of Mookie Betts. It's why they're cutting costs in some places on the payroll, and why they're trying to kind of build up from the ground up again.
Yeah.
They have had their success, and they're content with it, and now they're making their money, and it might be in the best interest for them to be selling, for the best interest of the team to be selling soon. Now, my heart doesn't bleed for any Boston fans who have seen like 20 championships in the last 20 years. So to Bob and any other Boston sports fan, I'm sorry, I don't really feel bad for you. But you're looking at a Red Sox team, like you said, that's in flux, and there could be some changes coming. And this year, again, it's a weird shortened season, but maybe the first manifestation of that, a team that's probably going to be lucky to get to 24 wins the way we've seen so far.
Yeah.
If even. So now you're going to start seeing maybe some outcry from the city, from fans, within the organization, and things maybe change.
The city is not really used to losing big stars.
No.
I mean, especially with the Red Sox. So I think that Mookie trade really that took its toll on the city a little bit. They definitely knew it would be an uphill climb to challenge with the Yankees this year, but those Boston fans, I mean, that city, they expect to contend for titles in every sport every year. It's why they've been so successful, because their city is so demanding of greatness. But yeah, those Yankees, they're 8-1 right now, Joe.
Incredible.
I just want you to know that I've bet on the Yankees one time this year, and it was that one game that they lost. So I'm just going to keep betting on them. You know, I might bet on them again to see if they lose again. And
let me know what you do so I can get the plus money on the team they're playing against.
There you go. And but I mean,
it's Aaron Judge powering the way, man. I mean, he's going to have he might end up having a normal-looking home run total in a 60-game season.
I know.
He very well might. He has 6 homers already through 9 games, and he had 27 last year, 27 the year before. Injury-shortened season, only played 112 and 102. At his current pace, he's going to be close to that mark in a 60-game season.
And Stanton's getting healthy form. He looks good. LeMahieu is just, I mean, when you talk about a professional hitter, he's great. Glaber is injured now, and he hasn't been too good for them, but he'll be back, and you got to figure he'll turn it around. And some of their other hitters, like Gary Sanchez, really hasn't gotten going. Luke Voit hasn't gotten going.
So the thing with them is they are so insulated from having slumps affect them, because they have so many bats that even if 4 guys are slumping, there's 5 guys up there mauling.
Yeah.
And when those 5 guys slump, the other 4 guys are going to be mauling. So right. It's just one guy after another with them, and the pitching has been good. And Garrett Cole hasn't even kicked it up into his dominant self yet, but he's still been getting the wins and pitching really well. And Gary Sanchez, the criticism on him has always been his defense. And yesterday, Garrett Cole comes out and praises how great of a game Gary Sanchez called for him. So that's got to make Yankee fans happy that maybe he's coming around behind the plate. Everything is pointing in a great direction for the Yankees right now. And really the only thing that unfortunately seems like it could slow them down is the virus itself. As long as they stay healthy and as long as the league itself doesn't shut down, there's no slowing down on the horizon for this team. They are just mowing teams down right now, and there's no reason to believe that that's going to change. We always knew coming into the year, them and the Dodgers, 2 best teams. And for the Yankees, sky's the limit if they all stay healthy. And so far, the health is there, and they are showing that they are head and shoulders above the NL East and AL East teams they've been playing against.
They've really, really been good. Quick shout out to my Orioles. Joe, I got to tell you, 9 games in, didn't think we'd have 5 wins, let alone sweeping Tampa. That was impressive in itself.
We do have to come back down to earth a little bit, because you lost 4-0 last night to a Marlins team.
I was just going to say.
A 4-0 loss to a Marlins team that had 16 spare parts. If you look at their transaction list from yesterday, it looks like a shopping list for someone preparing for the apocalypse. There are 25 entries on that thing, and it's crazy to look at. And they came out with a 4-0 shutout.
Well, their pitchers were well rested. I mean, the guys haven't had to throw for 2 weeks. Sure. So that's my defense. No, what I'll say is, in typical Orioles fashion, they'll sweep Tampa, which nobody saw coming, and then they'll get swept by the Marlins. What's probably going to happen.
Hey, the Marlins aren't slowing down right now either. They are in first place in the NL East.
How about those NL East standings? I gotta say, the Marlins team, they got a nice mix of, especially in their lineup, of veterans and young bats. Jesus Aguilar,
they've taken whatever they can find, and it's working. It's working. It's not going to work for long. I mean, they played they played 4 games and they're 3-1.
They
Like,
have, but
they're
they're better.
regress.
They're better than I thought they were. I mean,
Yes.
I don't know if they'll make the playoffs. They
They're
might.
not going to
I
make the
don't
playoffs,
know.
PJ.
But-
PJ, they're not going to make the playoffs. Don't
Joe.
fool yourself into thinking that right now.
Yeah, you don't know. Baseball's funny like that. Did you think the Orioles would be 5-4, 9 games in?
No, but like they could start fine because they have professionals on the team. The Marlins are just a hodgepodge of spare part minor leaguers from the taxi squad. They played 4 games.
Well, this is your script for Major League 3 right here. It's the Marlins team.
I guess so.
We'll see what.
That's
But the
gonna
NLE
change.
standings is incredible. You have the Braves
the
at
NLE
8-4, the Marlins at 3-1, the Nats at 4-4, the Phillies at 1-3,
1-3.
and then the Mets at 4.
And so much could change now too because Mike Soroka goes down with that freak torn Achilles, hopping off the mound to get a slow roller. So who knows what's going to happen in that division now? And it might still kind of hold true to form what we thought as this sample size gets larger. Right now, that division has been topsy-turvy. One division that has kind of pretty much gone to form for the most part is the very, very putrid AL Central with the Twins on top at 9-2, then followed by the White Sox. I will say, while it's holding to form, I am surprised that the Tigers are 500. I'm not surprised that the Indians are 500. They're a good team. And the Royals bringing up the rear at 3-9 again. Everybody saw kind of this division stacking up the way it stacked up.
How about the White Sox, though? 6 in a row. I mean, they were 1-4. We talked about how potent their lineup had a chance of being, and now all their young stars are playing really, really well. Minnesota, I mean, after the Yankees and the Astros, on paper, they were definitely the third best team.
Oh, yeah.
With the addition of Donaldson, they're playing like it. They look great. And then the AL West, really interesting. I still look at the Angels at 4-7, and I'm like, their lineup is just, now that Trout's back from paternity leave, him and Rendon, that's some 2-3. We'll see if they can get going here. Houston, obviously the Verlander news hurt them a little bit, but I still
a tough team. I mean, those guys, Springer, Correa, Bregman, Altuve, they're not going to be hitting sub 200 for the whole season. They're starting off slow. Maybe this is them without the banging of the trash can, I guess. But they're heck of a lineup that they've still got there. And those guys, while slumping early, they will come out of it and they'll do it in a big fashion. And they're still 6-4, so it's they're still going to be what we thought they kind of were. And, it's just that, we've maybe been a little bit surprised by the rest of the division being as solid. The A's at 7-4. The Mariners, we know, bringing up the rear. Same thing with the Rangers. But that division is something to keep an eye on with those two at the top. And then the NL West has been the surprise, really good division so far in baseball.
Rockies,
the Rockies
man.
at 8-2, the Dodgers at 8-4, and the Padres at 7-5. We always thought that the Padres could make some noise. Not much mention of the Rockies early in the season, but they're on quite the run right now to begin the year. They do have a ton of talent, so it should. They do.
Story's been great for them. Arenado's rock solid. Daniel Murphy's good. I mean, anytime.
They have the lineup. They have the lineup. They have the altitude for home games. It's just we didn't think anything of their pitching. Yes. Always pitching.
Always.
But they've managed to get out of the gates really strong, and in a 60-game sprint, getting out of the gate strong is more than half the battle. So they are in a very good spot right now. Last week we talked about the stupidity of the Marlins. Before we transition into our PGA talk here, I just want to highlight the stupidity of the Cardinals. Still not quite as dumb as the Marlins, holding a team meeting to decide whether or not they should play, but going to a casino. What are you doing, fellas? They went to a casino and it leads to a team outbreak. I don't know, man. It's just, Joe, do they want to play baseball or not?
That's what I'm saying. We talked about it last week. You would hope the unwritten rule during all this. All these commissioners and leagues can make all these rules to help. At the end of the day, it comes down to the players and whether or not they're smart. If you want to play baseball, stay home, stay in your hotel. Just prevent any human contact, as much as you can. Going to the casino obviously doesn't help that. And because of it, they had a main outbreak, and they haven't been on the field in over a week. And now they sit in the middle of the NL Central standings at 2-3.
Yep.
So And Yachty is one of the guys who has corona. We
I
know
know.
how important he is to that team. So that's tough. But, man, the Cubs, we talked about with the Cubs, David Ross was the question mark. You go from Joe Madden to David Ross, and being his first year as a manager, you just didn't know what to expect. 9-2 in your first 11, Joe. That is not too shabby.
Not bad at all.
The lineup's been great. Jason Hayward, Javi Baez, Rizzo, Chris Bryant, who's been in and out of the lineup a little bit, but their pitching's been very good. The Cubs, they still have a bunch of pitchers from that World Series team, Lester, Hendricks. Those guys have been really good. So they're definitely the favorites right now. You love the Reds coming into the season. They've been a little up and down.
A little stumble out of the gates.
Little stumble.
Castellanos
Castellanos has been great for them.
Yep.
God, he's been really good. You see the talent, though, like you said. Their starting pitching, their bullpen, their lineups been hit or miss. So we'll see what happens with those.
We've got two very clear-cut frontrunners for the Cy Youngs out of the gates as well, with Shane Bieber. And Jacob deGrom.
Yeah.
Those guys have already been unhittable. DeGrom, he's 1-0 because the Mets can't give him run support, but a 2.12 ERA. Strikeout numbers have been there for him in a way that maybe they really kind of haven't the past couple of years. 22 strikeouts to 3 walks. Last year, I take that back. He's had the strikeout numbers, but you never really looked at him and said, I expect him to strike out 10 to a dozen guys every time he takes them out. It almost sort of happens by accident as the game goes along, but not known to be that Scherzer-like strikeout guy. And he took his game and kicked it up a notch. He's been hitting 100 more than he ever has. 22 strikeouts, 3 walks. He was pissed after an outing in which he had 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned, and 10 strikeouts. And he was mad. Like, that's scary for a guy to be mad after an outing like that. And then Shane Bieber as well on the other side. I mean, shutouts in his first 2. He's 3-0 with a .83 ERA. Oh. He has been lights out for the Indians. Part of the reason why that they have started somewhat strong, 6-6, but a team that is going to be in the thick of it. He has 35 strikeouts to 3 walks.
Is that good?
He's been pretty incredible out of the gate so far.
He has been good. Again, it's nice to have baseball back. You hope that we'll see what happens with these doubleheaders, 7-inning games.
Yeah.
We made our baseball predictions last week and didn't know about the expanded playoffs. So all these teams feel like that if they're at the 20, 25, 30 game mark and they're in the hunt, that they can definitely make it. And we'll see what happens. But, Joe, it's time now to talk a little golf. The segment I've been looking most forward to. If anybody needs me today when this episode drops on Thursday, I'll be on my couch all day. Coverage of the PGA Championship starts on ESPN Plus at 10 a.m., goes all the way through till ESPN on TV at 10 p.m. Joe, that's 12 hours of golf. I mean,
12 hours of golf, PJ. I know you're
more than
thrilled,
you want. It's fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. They're playing out at TPC Harding Park. So, only a few guys have played there. The last tournament, I believe, was 2009, and Tiger has said that the course is a whole lot different. They've shortened the fairways. The rough is a lot taller. So it's going to be real interesting. The 2 heavy favorites are Justin Thomas and Brooks Koepka. Nobody's going to blame you if you take those 2 guys. Exactly. Thomas is the best player in the world right now. He's number 1. He's coming off a win. This course just fits him so well with how good of an iron player he is. And then Koepka, I mean, we know his track record in majors. He got off to a slow start here in the restart, and then last week found his stride. And again, because it's a major, he said this is a big boy course when he walked it. So when Brooks Koepka tells you it's a big boy course, it's a big boy course.
Yeah.
Because the rough is so long, people feel that if he's wayward with his tee shot, he's so strong that he can still get it into the fairway, which will be a big help for him. But the keys this week, from everything I've been hearing and watching, got to keep the ball in the fairway.
Yep. Hit it long, hit it straight.
Hit it long, hit it straight. When you watch the golf on TV this week, if you haven't already, you'll see the trees at this golf course are so big. Normally on the PGA Tour, you got these trees that you can kind of shoot around or what. None of that. I mean, it's like a bunker at the Open Championship where you're going to have to pitch out sideways. So guys that hit it straight, hit it long will be popular picks this week. Koepka and Thomas among those. But, Joe, are you taking those 2 guys?
Yes. There's a couple of hard and fast rules I have when it comes to making picks. First of all, always pick Mike Trout for AL MVP. You might be wrong one year. You're going to be right the year after that. Plain and simple. And the other one is if it's the U.S. Open or the PGA Championship, you pick Brooks Koepka and you don't think twice about it. And that's definitely what it's going to be here. Like we said, it's a course that suits him. Hit long, hit it straight. He can get it to the greens from the rough, and it's a course that suits him. Nobody has really a leg up in knowing the course, so he falls pretty much in line with everybody else there. Tiger's going to be he's always a popular play whenever you have this, and he showed up there a week early to play an extra couple rounds to get used to the course. So he's obviously in the back of your mind at plus 3,500. Koepka, you're not getting great odds. He's plus 1,100, but when you are a two-time defending PGA champion and you've won two out of the last
two in a row.
Two in a row, and then you've won 2 out of 3 U.S. Opens.
Right.
So he still has to break through the Masters, but the U.S.-based majors, he hasn't had the same success. Yeah. He hasn't had the same success at the Open, but the U.S.-based majors, he's there all the time. Even if he doesn't win, you know that you're going to be watching on Sunday with him in the top 5 and a chance to make a push. He's coming off of a second-place performance last week. Looked great. I thought it was a mistake for him going out last week and really pushing that knee after he came out and complained about it. And he looked fine and shut me up by coming in second and had a chance to win that on Sunday. So he's in good form after starting slow, like you mentioned, with the restart. He's only plus 1,100, but again, still 11-1 odds. He's still the guy to beat at any major championship. Mike Trout for MVP, Brooks Koepka, any U.S.-based major. When we get to the episode about the U.S. Open, same answer. When we get to the episode about the Masters, same answer. Don't even bother asking me. It's Brooks Koepka at a major in the U.S. I set that, and I forget it.
I mean, I'm not going to fault you for taking Koepka. If I had to choose between the two of them, Thomas and Koepka, I'd lean Koepka. To give people another golfer to maybe pick outside of those two, who I think actually will win this week, is Colin Morikawa for a couple reasons. He got his second career win about a month ago at the Workday Charity Open, and another guy who this course fits him. He's so good with his irons. He hits it straight. He keeps it in play. But I love the fact that he played his college golf at Berkeley. So he's used to the Northern California, the thin air. None of that will phase him. And I think that's a big advantage for him. Tiger and some of these other guys talked about how it's a little chilly, and as a golfer, you got to get used to that. So Morikawa knows that very well. Again, gun to my head, if I had to choose, put money on somebody, it would be Koepka. But outside of him, I think I'm leaning Morikawa. I think he's got a real good shot of winning this week, and we'll see what happens. It's great to have major championship golf back.
Where do you think the score falls on Sunday?
So a lot of guys have been saying that anywhere from about 10 under to 12 under will probably win it. So I'm thinking right around 10 under should probably win it. They think that the course conditions are pretty much going to be the same all week, chilly, windy, blue skies, gray skies. So I think that 10 under right around there. It's a par 70, only 2 par 5, so it's tough course.
And hey, if you're in any of the states where you can get access to FanDuel Sportsbook, they are running a good offer. I've given them some free advertisement here, but it's to try to help you win some money if you're listening to this. If you place a $25 or more money line pre-tournament bet to win on any golfer, they're giving you, I think it was $2 for every birdie or better that they card, up to a $50 bonus. So if you throw your 25 on Koepka and he's right in the thick of things on Sunday, and he's got 12, because he'll have a bogey or so in there, obviously. You figure in he's going to have at the end of 4 rounds, you're figuring he'll have himself at least 12 to 15 birdies / eagles. So right there, you're at $2 a pop for every birdie or better on the card. You're getting your money back on that $25 bet for him. So you're essentially getting a free bet on Koepka at 11-1 odds with that bonus offer. So if you're thinking it and you're in a state that has it and you want to put some money on the PGA Championship, whoever your guy is, whoever your pick is, that's an offer that you cannot pass up, because you're with the score supposed to be around 10 to 12 under. You're looking at the guys who are in contention getting themselves about a dozen birdies / eagles throughout the course of the 4 days, if not more. So you're getting your money back.
Very nice. Now, as we always do, ends our podcast, Where Would You Go, Joe, and Trivia. But, Joe, this week for Where Would You Go, Joe,
We
have
have
live
actual events, PJ.
sporting events. We do. So, of course, I got a golf for you. I got a basketball. I got a hockey. And I got a baseball. All right. So, answer choice A, you want to attend round 1 of the PGA Championship. Answer choice B, you want to go to Lakers Rockets tonight. Answer choice C, Leafs Blue Jackets game 3. Or answer choice D, baseball schedule a little weak tonight. The best game I thought of the night was Reds and Indians.
Yeah, so I write off Reds and Indians right away because,
Sure.
like you said, it's kind of a weak schedule.
Yeah.
Lakers Rockets, I write off because you don't know what you're going to get out of the Lakers, who already wrapped up the 1 seed. They might come out and say the Rockets are probably going to be an opponent that we see early, and we don't want to risk any injury against them, show anything against them. So you might not get the real Lakers in that game. A and C, tough call. Leafs Blue Jackets, it's our favorite series that we're watching in the Stanley Cup qualifiers. But I got to go with first round of the first major of the year. Gotta be. It's gotta be out there in Northern California. Gotta be round 1 of the PGA at TPC Harding Park.
Love it. Yeah, I'm right with you. I was between the golf and, the Leafs Blue Jackets. If it was a Stanley Cup final, that's a different story. But just a qualifier game opposed to a major championship, I'm rolling with golf as well. Joe, as always, that brings us to trivia. I lead it 3 to 2.5 because of last week. So who would you like to go first?
It's your choice. You got the lead, man. You're
That's
not used
true.
to having the lead, I know. It's the first time you've had a lead.
It is the first time. I can give you my question first.
Okay. All right.
All right. So here we go. Here's your question. Hockey question for you.
Okay.
There are 5 current teams that have gone 8 or more seasons without winning a playoff series. Can you name 4 of the 5?
4 teams out of the 5 who have gone 8 years,
8
no
or more.
playoff series win.
Correct. Not games, series.
I'm assuming we're well, first of all, they've won a playoff series. Never mind. I was going to say something stupid. I was going to say we're disregarding the Knights because they haven't played 8 years, but they have won many playoff series in their 2 years anyway. So that was going to be a very stupid comment.
All right, Joe, your time starts now. Go ahead.
All right. 8 years or more haven't won a series. Okay, so the Coyotes had that odd magical run towards the Western Conference Finals. It's not them. Let's see. The Islanders have been in it, and they won a series last year. They lost then to the Hurricanes. Canes, obviously, we know. Bruins, Lightning, Flyers, all those teams. Check mark there. 8 years. The Florida Panthers.
They're the top with 22 seasons without a series win.
Gotcha. Without 8 years, no series win.
40 seconds. You got 50 left.
Okay. Predators have done it. The Blue Jackets have done it. 8 years is a long time in hockey. There's so much parity and turnover. I didn't think anybody would really go this long.
30 seconds left. I mean, you got all 3 of your strikes, so.
I know. Give me the. I got no clue, man. This is a good question.
20
Shoot,
seconds.
I didn't think that was even possible. You stumped me. This is a great one. I didn't think that was even possible. 8 years. Damn.
Can you believe the Panthers are 22? 10 seconds left.
I'm taking a bad loss on this one. The Senators have been there. The Oilers have been there. The Leafs, have they won a series?
The Leafs at the buzzer. So you got 2. Yeah. So you got 2 of them. They were the top 2. Panthers 22 seasons. Leafs 14. The one I thought you would get is the Sabres 13 seasons.
Oh yes.
Without a win. Really, and then the tough 2 ones. So I figured you get the top 3, and then I wanted to see if you would get one of these 2. The teams with 8 or more are the Canucks and the Devils. 8 seasons without a series.
I wouldn't have gotten that. And
the Coyotes, who you were saying, 7 seasons without a series win. Red Wings and Flyers, same thing, 7 seasons as well.
So those teams I knew. I don't, because I'm thinking when the Canucks made their run to the Cup and the Devils lost to the Kings in the Cup, But that's been more than 8 years now. That's crazy to think about. That was the
It goes
early
by quick.
2010s. Wow.
Yes.
Those teams didn't even cross my mind because as I'm going through in my mind teams that have made cup runs. Yeah. 2012 the Devils were there. 2011 the Canucks were there. That, you know what? I'm not even mad that I went through it without burning any strikes because there's no way I would have gotten that because it stuck out in my mind that those teams were in the cup and it didn't even dawn on me that it's been more than 8 years. So.
The Panthers, I couldn't believe was that long. Toronto, honestly, same thing. The Sabres sounded about right, but, I mean, the Devils, Canucks.
I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get the Sabres because one of my good friends is a Sabres fan, and I make fun of him all the time. So I should have gotten them. And clocks did just strike 0-0, so my long shot of Islanders sweep did not cash. They lost 3-2. But there we go. All right, you got me. So I still stay at 2.5 out of 11.
Yep.
And again, for anybody who might have missed last week, I'm at 2.5 because PJ asked me an initial question that I thought was unfair off air. Got it right, should have just ran with it, and then got the question he did ask me wrong. So we agreed on counting it as a half.
Yep.
PJ, my question for you. I think you should get it. We'll see. There are – because the bulk of this question is going to be so easy for you to get,
Sure.
I added – like, you should get the guys I at least think you should in the first 20 seconds. Jordan Spieth talked about wanting to get that Grand Slam. He's only missing the PGA. He could do it this weekend. I want you to give me the 5 guys who do have a Grand Slam. All 5 of them, because I think it's easy. The 5 guys who have a Grand Slam, plus one more guy besides Jordan Spieth who is one away. Let me get your timer set. Understand the question?
I do.
All right. The 5 guys who have the Grand Slam, one non-Jordan Spieth guy who is one away, because I just gave you Jordan Spieth, obviously, and your time starts now.
All right. Well, Jack and Tiger are 2.
Of course.
Yes. Rory is missing one of them. He's missing the Masters.
There you go. So 3 more components to go. 3 guys who have the Grand Slam.
You know, it's funny. They always talk about the Grand Slam, and I've just never looked up who the 5 guys are. I got to assume, though, that either Arnold Palmer or Gary Player has done it. Arnold Palmer?
Arnold Palmer is a strike. He
is not. Okay, yeah. I didn't know if he had. Ben Hogan.
Ben Hogan is a yes.
Okay. Sam Snead.
He is not. 2 strikes.
2 strikes. Okay. Let's see. Byron Nelson was a pretty good player. Maybe it is Gary Player. Nick Faldo only won the Masters and the Open.
You got 40 seconds to go.
Yeah, I
2
just
strikes.
let's go Byron Nelson.
No, 3 strikes.
Was it Gary Player?
Gary Player was the 4th.
Okay.
I didn't think you'd get the 5th though. Gene Sarazen going way back.
Saracen.
See, I really thought that you were gonna in like 10 seconds run through Hogan, Player, Jack, and Tiger, and but I thought again Sarazen was the one that I was hanging my hat on not getting. So.
Well, Player, yeah. I didn't know if he had all 4. I didn't know if it was him or Palmer or somebody else. Saracen I'd forgotten about. That's good. It's just one of those things you always hear about the Grand Slam, but I've never looked up who the guys are. So that was good. Well done.
Yeah. PJ, you're 3 for 11. I'm 2.5 for 11.
Yes.
We said though, look, each other tough questions here. We're not making this, just amateur hour where we're lobbing each other softballs. And like we said last week, 300 hitters make the Hall of Fame. A 250 hitter for me, you're borderline. If you have the homers, you'll get there.
Sure.
So I just got to make sure I get the homers and the ribbies. But we'll come back. We gotta start turning this ship around. I don't want that to be giving each other easier questions, but we got to start turning this ship around.
We do. We need to start hitting on some more. Thanks to our guest, Bob Lobel. Great talking to him. Already 11 episodes through. We got sports back. Next time we see each other, we'll have a major champion in golf. So a lot of good stuff going on,
we'll have
Joe.
The first round, the actual first round for the NHL just about set.
Yeah.
We'll be looking towards that draft lottery with probably 25% chance for the original 6 teams that are in it and 0 for everybody else. And the NBA will have their stuff just about locked up. We're there, PJ. We made it. It was 10 long weeks, but we are in the clear. Hopefully.
Yes, we are.
Hopefully, unless teams from St. Louis want to keep going to casinos and teams from Miami want to, have a team meeting to decide whether or not they should play baseball.
Right.
As long as we avoid that stuff, we'll be in the clear.
That's right. Well, this was a lot of fun as always, Joe. Look forward to doing it next week for episode 12. See you later.